right. Good to see everybody. Thank you guys so much for being on. It looks like we've got folks running a little late today, and it's all recorded. And for some reason, after we've gone live on Facebook 9 million times, today it said you can't do that. So, we're not going to do that. So we're just going to run with it right here. I guess I could go live on my personal page. That would be cool. I could do that. That'd be out there to a lot of people. So, hey, we're going to go ahead and kick off because I want to make sure that you get every single minute of the opportunity that we have for you today. We do these calls each and every single week because we're talking about, for all of us, right? The moments in our lives and in our businesses that have helped shaped us and define us to who we are today, to how we operate today. And so you've got an incredible opportunity today on the call with somebody who sincerely, and I've said this to him a million times and he's never taken credit for it because that's who he is. But I literally would not be who I am today if it wasn't for the gentleman that is going to pour into you today. When we talk about defining moments, I could literally list off about 10 that this gentleman has played a role in my life. The one I'll tell you is I literally would not be standing here if it wasn't for a conversation I had with our speaker today. When I was in his office, Kevin, you'll remember this very well. I was in his office and man, I was broken. Had just felt like I failed in every way, had literally walked away from the business, all the above. And this guy loved me really well. And he sat me down and he said, "What the heck are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know, man, I'm a mess." And then he said this, if you've been in a room with me before, you've heard me say this. He said, "Dusty, you need to remember right now that failure is an event. It is not a person. Get up." And I'll never forget that. Kevin Cannon, that defined me. That moment put me on a trajectory that literally puts me on this screen and puts me in this place. And you've done that, I know, for so many people. So I want to introduce you today. This is Mr. Kevin Cannon. I will tell you this briefly. He'll tell you more. So just to tell you the level of agent that you're getting and business owner that you're getting. He and his wife, Christy Cannon, own the Christy Cannon team. I think they did that because they knew the Kevin Cannon team just wasn't going to be, as good. So they called it the Christy Cannon team, which was a smart marketing move. My wife and I both have been able to be even a part of their organization for a while as we learned and grew, and we did it together for a while. And so in this last year, 753 families served. Okay, I want you to write that down. That's this last year. Okay, that's not the career. This last year, 753 families served for 318 million. And in addition to all that, who you have on the screen is an incredible man, an incredible husband, an incredible father, leader, and coach. And so, Kevin, we'll jump right in. Anything you want to say to that?
No, I mean, I'll write you the check later. I appreciate it. You said a lot of nice, kind things. But you were experiencing something that all of us have experienced, and we've all had those people that come into our lives, right? And influence and effect on others is the number one currency of the world.
Yeah. Write that down. Influence and effect on others is the number one currency in the world, right? I heard somebody say the other day, Kevin, relationships are the currency.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what it is, right? That's what it comes down to. And so, Kevin, we'll jump right in. I think it's so easy when we hear 753 families served, 318 million, right? People go, man, right? Like, how many of them right now like, okay, I'm listening. That's awesome, right? We see the kind of the product of that. But Kevin, you and I have had conversations around all the days that led to that, right? And so I want to jump right to a defining moment that I remember you sharing with me. I think it was actually in that same conversation that I just told everybody about. So tell them about like that moment in an open house that you told me about that was way before we got to 753 families and 318 million. Tell them about that moment and how you used it to define you and define y'all's business and what that looked like in that defining moment.
Well, I'm going to give a very brief, very short leading up to that open house, right? My wife started in real estate, but she was not an agent, right? She started as, people would say, a director of first impressions. She started working as in the office. I was not in real estate. I was in a completely different career. And long story short, my wife eventually worked into real estate. We had this brilliant plan to go into real estate in like 06 and really launch a team in 2009. You know, not what could go wrong in launching your real estate business in
Yeah.
2009,
If
right?
you're around in 08 and 09, what an awesome time to be in real
Yeah,
estate, right?
well planned out. And but we believed in what we were doing, and so I had walked away from being very successful in a completely unrelated field, right, in government work. We didn't come from a real estate family. We did not have a huge sphere of people in our market, in our area, and we had our first real, $1 million listing. This is 09 time frame, right?
Yeah.
And man, I can still. I mean, Christy had pulled a move where she had not pulled a move. She told our very first assistant. She said, we were already paying our employee before we were getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't getting paid,
Mm-hmm.
and she had already had a conversation with her. Said like, I don't want anything to be a surprise, but we're okay this month, but it's looking real rough. And I can still remember sitting in an open house. Man, I'm not super emotional, and I just got hit with a wave, just overwhelming wave of like, what are we doing? And can we just get the bleeding to stop? And like, I'm doing the things, like I'm doing the things, like I can't keep, and there's no more things to do. I'm doing all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And we just couldn't get the traction.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's one of those fall to your knees moments,
Mm-hmm.
and man, it was brutal. I was like, what do we do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm in the open house. Mine's a Saturday. Our son's with grandparents, right?
Yeah.
My wife's off working, driving clients around. Back in the days when you put them in your car, she's out driving them around, and I'm in my second open house of the day, going like, it's like, we got to do something. We got to pack it in. Do we have to? I'm going nowhere with this.
Right. Right.
It was tough. It was a brutal, self-reflective moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just kept thinking like, nobody better walk in. I could be in tears. Like, I don't want someone walking in right now. Like, for the first time ever, going to the house, you're like, oh my gosh, please, I'll meet him at the curb. I'm like, please don't pull up. Please don't pull up.
You had to go lock the door for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure all of you that are on Zoom right now and all of you that'll watch this on Facebook later, I think we can all agree we've had those moments, right? The moments when I remember a moment sitting on the edge of my bed thinking, what in the world are we going to do, and how in the world are we going to do it? And I just remember in that same conversation, Kevin, when you talked about, hey, failure's an event, it's not a person, you got to get up. I remember you telling me in that moment that you felt that despair, and then it was, hey, we're going to get up. We're going to get up because we believe in who we are. We believe in what we're doing. I want you guys just to think about this, right? Had Kevin made the choice at that time to quit, how different, right, life would look today for you guys, and how many people wouldn't be served, right? So thank you for not quitting that day, because you made sure that I also didn't quit that day. Well, I'd already quit. You went and sought me out. Full story is I went to work at a title company, and Kevin actually, I called Kevin and said, hey, will you go to lunch? And just so y'all know, Kevin usually doesn't go to lunch, man, because this guy works. And he was like, yeah, let's go to lunch. And we sat down, and he didn't order. He just came there to talk. And so anyway, that started kind of that trajectory of getting me to where I'm at today. So thank you, brother, for not quitting. And
no, you weren't. This is the thing. You weren't on your purpose.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You had already defined who you wanted to be. You knew who you wanted to be. You had already defined it.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. You just weren't on that path in that moment.
That's right. That's right. There was a defining moment for me. I mean, that one. Hey, everybody, remember this: one conversation may not change somebody's life. One conversation can. So be the person willing to have the conversation, and be the person willing to listen when somebody has the conversation with you. right? Because that was a tough conversation that day. So, well, Kevin, thinking back, right, when we go all the way back in Kevin Cannon's life, what's the first defining moment you can remember? Like something that it may have been when you were a little kid. I don't know when it was, but something that you can pinpoint and go, hey, that moment right there played like shaped me in such a way to where I am today. What's a memory you can remember that's like that?
So I've had a lot of them, right? I mean, I've had a lot of them. I've been very fortunate as I've gotten a little bit older, and been humbled multiple times over, and had more than one moment where you're
Yeah.
on your knee going, "Ah, man, I don't know about this," right?
Yeah.
Um, but if I had to go back to being a kid, um, I always wanted to be good at sports,
Mhm.
right? I mean, who doesn't? Always wanted to be great at sports,
Yeah.
and I'm 6'4". I'm a waste of basketball. I'm horrible. I mean, it's Three Stooges-esque kicking the hat as you're chasing it, kind of bad. It's bad. And people are like, you're being humble. You're like, you haven't played me in basketball.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to be good at sports. And so I played soccer. I played tennis as well, but I wanted to be good at soccer. I love tennis. I was very good at tennis. I excelled in tennis. So I wanted to be good at something that felt more physical, more team oriented. So I wanted to be good at soccer, and I was a goalkeeper. And I was very, very skilled at it. And I had a coach, you have to listen to this one. I had a coach pull me aside as we started to really, I got on a team very competitive, and we're advancing through the ranks. I mean, we're talking like ODP level. Like we are really moving up. Through at the time would have been very high level select. Now they have travel clubs and other things. I mean, we were moving up, and the team was moving up, and the coach was moving up. And the coach pulled me aside and said, as we kind of came out of a season and we went, and he said, listen, um, next year it's not just if you want to be the starting goalie, you got to put weight on, you got to get bigger, you got to be more physical. If you want to be a goalkeeper on this team, this is what it's going to, not just start, just to be the goalkeeper on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And you got one summer to do it,
Mm-hmm.
or you're not going to be playing for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the real defining moment comes. And I'm like, geez, Dad, that's a little harsh. I'm like, really? I'm like, you're the coach, man. And he's like, yeah, I know. And this is what the best for the team. This is what the team needs
Wow.
and the kids deserve. And I'm like,
Wow.
yikes. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You talk about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So
You learn a
define.
lesson real quick.
I trust you. I trust you heard the dad part there, right?
Yep.
That your dad goes, "Hey, here's what's going to happen," right? How do you think like just a moment like that? How did it define like the Kevin that you are today? Because the Kevin you are today, like I see that in you, like oh no, like I mean I know you to go to work, like to do whatever it takes. So how would that how did it shape you?
Well, I had to get over the fact that it was my father who said it to me, and the realization he's coaching that team next year. The question is, who's the goalie going to be,
Are
right?
you going to be on it?
Right, that's it. Yeah, but we say that, and then you realize that was a conversation from love,
Yeah.
all around,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He had made a commitment to those players. He made a commitment to those parents. He made a commitment to that organization. He made a commitment to himself. He made a commitment to that team. He made a commitment to me,
Mm-hmm.
right, as a player and as a son. I know it sounds harsh, but he's like, look, and it was not a gimmick, because the next season I did not start. I did enough to be on the team.
Right. Yeah.
Now, the season after that, oh, yeah, it wasn't a season I didn't start. He quit being a coach because the team graduated past him, and I still started.
Right.
Started varsity as a freshman in high school. Like
Right.
it didn't end, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to get over the impact, and I think we have to do that a lot. We have to get over I don't want to say the victim, but
Yeah.
the emotion of it, and so it's a real lesson in that. And at the end of the day, you know, I said it earlier, right? Influence and our effect on others is the greatest currency,
Mm-hmm.
but it does pay to be a winner,
Yeah.
right? And we have a say in it.
Yeah.
Like it was my choice. I had all summer.
That's
I had
right.
the fall season. I had all summer. I had a choice in it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a choice. It wasn't like, hey, this is going to happen to you. This is happening. Be a part of it or don't.
That's right. That's right. Well,
And I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to do, I'll tie it. I know you'll have another question.
yeah.
I had a guy I worked for in the military one time, and I was overseas, and I heard him get interviewed. He got a phone call from like the Cleveland Plain Dealer or some newspaper, and they were interviewing him. And I actually worked for this guy. He was at the time he was a major, and they were talking about the mission and all this stuff, and how do you keep going? How do you do all these things? This was in the mid '90s. I was a very young man,
Mm-hmm.
and a full head of hair and the skin work. But I heard him say, he said, listen, he didn't say I'm over here doing something in the sacrifices I made. He said, my family gave me up to be here. I was like, whoa. Like here I am, I was probably 21 maybe. And here's this guy, he's like, my wife, my two children, my two girls, my wife gave me up to be here. If I'm going to be here, I might as well be engaged, all in, and effective.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Right.
Whoa. So my father gave up that time. Those team members put their heart and soul into it. They're working towards a goal and objective. If I'm going to be there and they're telling me this is what it takes to be effective, then I might as well choose to be there and be effective. And if I don't want that, that's not how I choose to define myself,
Right.
then that's okay. Then it's a different path for me.
That's right. Well, it comes down to your choice, right? I mean, that what we talk about a lot, Kevin, on this call, and what we talk a lot about when we're in the define room is the choices that we make, right? Like I say it every room I'm ever in. I talk about it all the time that all of us are making generational choices. Like that day, you made a generational choice, right? That changed to your point, your trajectory was either going to be one way or it was going to be another way. Nobody was going to choose it for you. You had to make the choice. And that was my next question that I have here. One thing I ask everybody is, when you look back, and this may be in business, it may be in life, you may have a couple of these. I'm sure you have many of them, but what would you say were some of the most defining decisions that you made, right? Like, right. We don't always get to choose the circumstance. In fact, defining moments to me are moments happen all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're
Doors
the
are open.
ones.
We seldom choose to walk through them.
That's
That's the
right.
crazy part. They're
That's
open
right.
all the time and all around us. And sometimes we just choose to ignore them. We don't look at them. We're
That's
not trained ourselves to see them.
That's exactly right. Right. A defining moment is a defining moment because the moment happened and I got to define it. Right.
Well, and let's be clear too. We can create them. I mean, they don't. I mean, look. I
Yeah.
walk out the office right now and strip into my skivvies and walk down Preston Road. It will be a defining moment, and probably not one I want to be defined by. It will be a defining moment, right? We do.
Right.
We have a say. That's the
Yeah.
kicker. So I think about failure, right? So I was in the military, and I was part of an organization where there was a selection process, right? And it's interesting because the number one reason people don't make it through the selection process isn't they fail to meet the standard; it's that they self-select out.
Right.
That's the polite way of saying they quit.
That's right.
The number one reason. The attrition rate. I was never a Navy SEAL, but the number one reason why the Navy SEALs have an attrition rate, or the Army Special Forces, or any of those, anything worth like that doing at that high level in the military. The reason that happens, most of the people don't fail to meet standard.
Right.
They don't make it there. They fail because they fail to train. They say, I'm out. I opt out.
Mm-hmm.
I opt out. This is the thing. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. And it's funny because people have asked me, did you ever think about quitting? You're like, all the time. Right. There are probably those people who say never. Not me. All the time. All the time. Hell, I think about it today. But here's what I do. There's no quitting today.
Yeah.
I can always quit tomorrow. Because quitting is always an option. It's the most readily available option. I could even be on the right road and all I have to do is sit still and I'll get run over. It's always there, right? Failure is always an option, but you choose it.
Right.
Most of the time when we actually fail, it's a choice.
That's
and
right.
I'm not saying that to like, oh, I don't mean you go out here and we get in a car accident. That becomes a defining moment, right? But the defining moment is how we act and interact with that moment and those moments that come after it. That's right. And there are some days we're going to fail. And we put everything into it that we could, but it's still a choice. Do I stay in that moment or do I move on to the next?
That's right.
And had I not had those moments, right, you're banking currency. You're building habits. And failure is a habit like everything else. And you can choose to change it in a moment. Right? Now, I might not meet success in the next moment, but how I choose to deal with it, I can choose in that moment. We really have that much power. I think it's scary to imagine that we have that much power because then I have that much responsibility.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Right? It's scary to think that who I am today, maybe not my circumstance, maybe not this awful thing that's happened to me, but who I am and how I choose to deal with what's happening around me is based on the choices I made last week, last month, last year, and in every year prior. And the beautiful thing is, man, there's no story like a redemption story. If I didn't make the good ones before, I get to go to bed tonight, and in all likelihood, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I can make a different choice then. I can make a different choice right now in this moment.
That's right. Yeah, that's right there, right? That's the definition of a defining moment, right? That, hey, in this moment, here's what my circumstances are. Here's the hand that I've been dealt, whatever it is, right? I do get to choose. That's where the defined name came from to begin with, right? That you and I get to define it. I mean, you said it earlier, right? I knew how I wanted to define my life. I just wasn't living in that path. I literally had taken myself out of it in that season, right? But literally that day in your office, I made a decision. I was like you literally stood up, you slammed your hands down on the table and you said, make a decision. And I was like, I think that's probably a good idea, right? And you know,
and you've been on that as a war path ever since, with an eye on the prize.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Right. And everything that you've done, but from that moment to the moment you're in.
That's right.
I'm not here to tell anyone's story, but I know that there have been stumbles along the way because you're human and we all have them.
That's right. Yep.
And guys, hey, I got bad news for you. There's stumbles ahead too.
Absolutely. There'll be that I quit again, right? Like, hey, I don't want to do this. You know, you said it really well, Kevin. You said we're creating it, right? We talk a lot about life isn't happening to you. Yes, life happens to all of us, right? Life's happening all the time. And yet we get to choose how we respond in the middle of it. And that's my final question for you today, Kevin, is a time or a season in your life when you had a moment that was unbelievably difficult.
How much time do we have?
And yet you chose in the moment to go, hey, this does not define me. I'm going to define it. Anything on that?
Sure. 2016, I got diagnosed with cancer the first time. It was local and regional, right? Man, that's devastating. You're like, you know, people say like you fall apart at 40.
Yeah.
Whew, literally turn 40 and get a diagnosis with regional cancer, localized cancer. And unfortunately, 7 years later, it came back, stage 4, incurable. I'm sitting on this call with it now. I'm at the office working. I will take my daughter to tennis tonight, right? And man, you want to just get the rug pulled out from underneath you. I mean, there's no, I'm sure it's out there, but I mean, there's, you know, I got, first time I had a 6-year-old, my daughter was 6.
Yeah.
She's 14 now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, my son's a little bit older, so it's a little bit easier. But I mean, dude, it pulls the rug right out from underneath you.
Yeah.
And yet, right? Not dead, can't quit. I got stuff I got to do. I want to do.
That's right.
You know, and there have been days, there are days ahead that the best you can do is the best you can do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is all I got.
Hey, man, if all I got is to sit up that day and hug my daughter, it's a damn good day.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, the thing is, it doesn't define who you are.
Right.
Those are actions.
That's right.
That's the currency.
Right. Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, dude, I've been to my daughter did her graduation when she was from kindergarten. Man, my father had to help me dress. Like I was going.
Yeah.
Prop me up as my very first day of chemo way back in the day.
Yeah.
Prop me up on my father.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for somebody else, they might not have that. They might not get that opportunity.
That's right.
But they still get a choice.
That's right. That's it.
That's why we don't quit. We don't quit today. You don't always quit tomorrow. We don't quit.
That's right.
We don't quit. And it's crazy to think about. It's crazy to think about because we think about these defining moments. But I want to be clear. We think about the defining moments as what I just shared as something that's huge, powerful, epiphany. I'm faced to force reality and mortality. I got bad news. Ain't nobody getting off this planet alive. Every one of us, our days are numbered. I just happen to know the odds a little better than you know your odds.
Right.
And I happen to know what the odds are on me better than somebody else. And yes, I say that with a smile because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. Let's be clear. All of our time is all of our opportunity.
Right.
If you ask me, you don't have time to wait. You do have time to start over.
Right.
But you don't have time to wait.
That's right.
I got today. That's what I got. I got today.
That's right.
Right? I got today. And here's the deal. Some days the best you can do is just show up. That's a good day.
That's right.
Some days the best you can do is I'm going to stay in bed and I'm going to reset. Right?
Yeah.
And we're going to fire again tomorrow.
That's
but
right.
If I go back to what that guy worked for, that major work for, right? If I'm going to be here, I might as well be all in and I might as well be effective.
That's right.
I mean, that to me is how we create those defining moments. And if I'm going to show up and I'm going to be there and I'm going to be engaged, right? Let's be purposeful.
Right.
Let's work towards something.
Right.
Yeah. Ask me if I got a 20-year plan, because I do.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that 20 years is in my future. I don't know that 10, I don't know 5. I got bad news for everybody on the call. You don't.
Yeah.
But I still got the plan and I'm still going to work towards it. Right. Yeah. And that plan's, surrounds my family, my daughter, my life, what I'm going to do every day, the people in my world, and how I want to contribute to them.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, all of us. This is what's weird. Did you know? I'm going to go a little goofy here. Did you know? You think of this is crazy, blew my mind. There are people that were alive in the Wild West that got on the internet. They were children during the Wild West and have been online on the internet. Like they got on Google. Like, do you understand, like, number one, like how time works? We are closer to the Roman Empire than the Roman Empire was to the Egyptian pyramids being built.
Right.
I find comfort in that's this big, beautiful world.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And every day I get the opportunity to change the life of my family, my children, the people I'm in business with, the people that are around me.
Yeah. Right.
I get to be even if I'm only a page in their book, right. I choose how I get to write on that page. That's exactly freaking awesome.
That's right. That's right. Hey, anybody have any question about why we had Mr. Kevin Cannon on today? Thank you, man. From the bottom of my heart, from everybody on this call, I trust you got everything out of that you should. This is recorded. It'll be on our Facebook page. I trust you wrote down, we don't have enough time to wait, but we do have time to start over. Okay.
Dusty, I'm going to say this real quick. Dusty, you have time to become everything you hope to be and everything you're meant to be. What we don't have time is to wait to get started.
That's right. Go do it today. Brother, thank you for the way that you show up all the time. I have seen you do that day in, day out. So, and thank you for, I wouldn't be me if you weren't you, man. Thank you. I love you. Bless you, man. Thank you, guys.
You as well, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care. Take care, team.